Hello and welcome to a new video here on my channel. This is a new story, The Shape of Justice. I hope you like my story, and then let's start right with the story. Let's start.
It's a beautiful, sunny summer day in Area 1 when a motorcycle tears down one of the countless roads that wind through the lovely mountains. The view is so stunning that Neo can't help but smile beneath her helmet and the mouth and nose mask that makes breathing in the fierce wind much easier. When I think about it, it seems plausible that the secondary effects of superpowers are far more diverse than the theories about those powers claim. But anyway, there are more important things for me to do than philosophize about how powers work, she thinks, letting her gaze wander across the lush green trees and the peaks that fill her horizon. Some of those mountains even glitter with snow, but there are no signs of anomaly zones or other dangers in sight. It feels unnaturally peaceful. No anomalies, no disasters on the horizon. No catastrophic ruptures, no public battles between heroes. For a world that can be so chaotic, everything seems relatively normal. Okay, nothing special out there, and I'm still not being chased. No cars on my tail for hours, no one's tried to attack me. That's definitely a plus, Neo thinks as the coastal city in Area 1 comes into view. Lunthar looks like a large, somewhat modern city, its tall buildings reaching 100 stories or a bit higher into the sky. The city seems sturdily built to Neo, surviving numerous clashes between heroes and powered individuals, even several monster assaults. What a stupid label, calling every powered animal a monster, she mutters inwardly. Strictly speaking, there's nothing extraordinary about it. Humans apparently love to see themselves as special. Most people don't realize that superpowers are a global phenomenon that doesn't stop at humanity. Other species are usually just too dumb to use their abilities effectively. It's not that apes or other animals have human-level intelligence. Maybe they're a little clever, but most so-called monsters can't leverage their powers to surpass humans. The main difference is intelligence, not the distribution of powers. Well, I can't change human arrogance. Neo lets that thought fade as a warm, tingling feeling rises in her chest, the urge to chase another adrenaline rush, to pull off an even wilder stunt. She forces herself not to follow the urge and feels both grateful and annoyed by this restraint, part of her ability's nature, part of her own better judgment. Being so far from civilization gives her the freedom to play a little, the chance that anyone will actually see her is practically zero. She conjures a small, flickering orange-red flame, no bigger than a candle, and the wind snuffs it out. A second later she reignites it with hardly any effort at all. A small fireball this size burns warm and bright in her palm. As the flame briefly shifts from orange-red to a white-blue turquoise, the faint grin on Neo's lips grows. Her control over fire keeps getting better. This is fascinating. Not long ago I couldn't even have imagined doing this, and now I've improved faster than the original user ever did, even though I haven't had the ability for long. It's interesting how much potential it held. If she hadn't been such an adrenaline junkie she might have lived to this day, which would have been problematic, but I suppose I can be grateful for her recklessness, Neo thinks, silently thanking the careless person whose foolishness made this possible. As Lunthar draws nearer with each passing minute, Neo decides it's time for a break. She eases the stolen motorcycle to a stop and the engine's roar gives way to the soft rumble of a hungry stomach, easy to identify with so few people around. "Ah, the air tastes so fresh," she says aloud, pulling off her helmet and lowering her mask. Her flame-red hair catches a gust of wind, and in the same motion her practiced fingers, hands that have picked pockets and lifted wallets more times than she can count, open the small trunk-like compartment on the bike and pull out her lunch. One of the many odd secondary effects of pyrokinesis, she notes, is a taste for very spicy food. It's not a harmful side effect. In fact, the power seems to increase her tolerance for heat. Weird habits, but I can't complain. I look good, Neo thinks with a private smirk as she bites into a sandwich loaded with pepper, spicy peppers, and other fiery ingredients. If I'm taking a break, why not test how well I can fly now? No one's nearby to steal my bike, and it would be interesting to practice. I'd love to fly into the city, but that would break some absurd laws. Freely using powers is heavily restricted in Area 1 and most neighboring zones, she tells herself as flames gather around her hands and feet. The fireproof suit she wears owes its existence to a generous donation from an unwilling villain and a small local gang. Without it, the fabric would have burned, since the pyrokinesis didn't automatically make her clothes fireproof. I suppose that's why there are companies that specialize in making support gear for heroes and crafting artifacts. Alchemy and technology are different beasts, though. Figuring out alchemy is next on my to-do list. Along with meeting a few heroes in Lunthar, Neo thinks, unable to hold back the impulse to fly. The flames roar, bright and white, as if launching a humanoid rocket. The heat chars the asphalt beneath her boots and makes it glow. No matter how familiar the sensation, the first thrust upward always feels intoxicating, liberating in a way that nothing else is. I am the Iron Woman, she murmurs to herself as she rises, first a few centimeters, then several decimeters, and soon 2 or 3 meters above the ground, her flames no longer touching the pavement. Even though this is only the second time she's flown with these flames, it feels as if decades have passed since she first took to the air. Her body moves almost automatically, answering the impulse to circle in the sky. At first the wind lashes at her face, but as she accelerates the roar becomes all-encompassing, only whipping wind and the sensation of breathlessness remain. Man, I must have faster reaction times too, otherwise I could never fly like this and react in time not to crash into things, Neo thinks as a massive tree in the forest ahead suddenly looms out of the dense canopy. Without even a conscious second to spare, a reflex she trained for years detonates a small blast to the side, the shockwave throws her off the collision course. Shit, that was close, she breathes as her thrust diminishes, the flames easing in a second burst of propulsion from her navel nudging her onto a new trajectory. The clear blue sky fills Neo's vision and the beauty of the moment washes over her like a wave. Part of her doesn't want to throttle back this final stretch of freedom beyond civilization. It's wonderful to be free and to fly. It's fascinating that I can control fire both outside my body and make it erupt from my skin. I'm still not sure how it actually works. These flames form outside me and yet they push me forward. That must break several laws of physics. The exhaust should push me backward if the flames are on my clothes. I don't burn any material. Where does the recoil come from? Well, whatever, powers don't always follow logic, but flying is beautiful. And strictly speaking, no one can arrest me. I didn't start a wildfire or do anything illegal right now. I'm not hurting anyone. The view is incredible up here, she thinks, slowing until she hovers in place, content that the strange mechanics of her flight work, even if they shouldn't. The ability to fly and manipulate fire clearly has more layers than it first appears, and a scientific curiosity flares within Neo like the flames around her. Questions and hypotheses about how powers in general function flood her mind, theories accumulated over years and the last few days pouring in all at once. If this works the way I think, that my power, pyrokinesis, is actually a form of law manipulation that bends and warps physical rules, then I can say that fire control isn't the fundamental thing at all. It's the ability to tweak the laws so the fire does what I want. In other words, if I want to fly with fire, the laws of nature get ignored just enough for me to fly. This kind of law bending would be passive and not freely controllable. I can't suddenly heal someone with fire. So superpowers break a few rules of nature, but they don't suddenly turn into something completely different. Powers follow a direction or a rule set. Pyrokinesis follows the direction of fire manipulation, and I can't, say, steal someone's body heat and freeze them. Neo thinks as she turns and glances at her motorcycle, still parked untouched at the roadside. It had been a fun exercise, like playing a scene out of an old superhero comic, streaking through the air, but now there are more important things to do. Neo's schedule snaps her back to reality. She can afford to arrive a few hours later and fly a little more, but it would be a problem if she didn't have enough daylight to scout Lunthar and get her bearings. That was so much fun. Screw it, she mutters aloud, grinning, as the familiar roar between her hands and feet returns when she takes off again. The wind lashes at her as the adrenaline surges. It would be tempting to keep flying, to cause a little chaos and have some fun. But Neo won't repeat the original user's mistakes. Why did she have to be such an adrenaline junkie? Now I have to deal with this too. It's annoying, suppressing the urge all the time, Neo thinks as her flames touch down near the bike. Hey there, pretty thing, you rested up, she murmurs to the motorcycle, surprised at the casual tone. Why am I talking to a bike that I got through a donation from that gang? Why am I pretending vehicles are alive? That's a useless habit left over from the previous user. God, that'll get annoying if I keep using this power, she wonders, unsure whether to be grateful, slightly annoyed, or simply puzzled. When the engine revs and she secures her helmet, Neo notices how different she is from the previous user. The earlier woman was narcissistic, reckless, and an adrenaline seeker with a short temper and lousy planning skills. Neo, cautious around corners though still fast, doesn't share those particular weaknesses. She would never have bothered putting on a helmet, she'd be laughing and tearing around blind, Neo thinks, riding sensibly through the curves. Before she knows it, Lunthar's cityscape is in front of her. It's a large, pleasant, attractive city full of people and powers, heroes who sell themselves as symbols of justice and nobility. From billboards to TV broadcasts, the spectacle is everywhere, even at the security checkpoint. The measures strike Neo as disproportionately strict, though she understands their purpose: keep out wanted criminals and stop illegal goods from being smuggled in. Still, the soldiers checking her make her impatient. Please extend your arms. We need to perform an additional search. This will be a standard body check, says the largest of the three guards. Hey, just because I came alone doesn't mean I'm a criminal. Just because I look good doesn't mean I'll let you men grope me, Neo snaps, annoyed by how unusually intrusive the security feels compared to past visits. These other cities weren't so heavily guarded, she thinks. The guards there had been looser, less paranoid. Miss, you must understand we have strict rules here and we can't change them. They're regulations, the big man says. Regulations my ass. They're just here to over-regulate powers, and they can be broken like any other rule, Neo mutters under her breath. Miss, you have to understand these are security measures. We can't change that. If you feel uncomfortable, we can do a full privacy search instead, the blue-haired woman with brown eyes says. Someone who can cross the wilderness alone, never once attacked, arriving without a scratch, we have to assume they're a powered individual. Otherwise we can't explain how you got here unscathed. So you must have a power, or a weapon, or some object that protects you from monsters. Even if it's been quiet lately, those are the rules. Okay, I can live with that better than letting those meatheads touch me, Neo thinks as she accepts the guard's logic. But what if I just show you my power? That should be proof I can defend myself. Or do you think I'm smuggling drugs? Like something in the movies, wrapped in plastic inside someone, she adds, playfully forming finger pistols and narrowing her eyes into slits to lighten the mood. 10 minutes later the search is done and, with no weapons or illicit items found, the only reasonable conclusion is that Neo arrived thanks to a superpower. Even as the soldiers lecture her for the 10th time about how strict power regulations are, Neo can't help but ignore the lecture. In her eyes there's no realistic way these people could actually catch her if it came to that. Crime's only a crime if you get caught, she thinks, finally stepping into the great coastal city of Lunthar. It takes only a few minutes to find a suitable 5-star hotel, park the bike, and dismount. I hope the luxury here is worth it. I hope they have a hot tub. A spa would be perfect after that trip, she says, locking the motorcycle and heading toward the Sunfire Hotel. The name is a little arrogant, a sign the place is probably ostentatious and tastefully decorated, at least from the outside. Let's see how much money I'll need. I should really find a better place to disappear from the crowd. Somewhere nobody goes. Rooftops are perfect for that. But to get up there I'd have to use my power, and flames aren't exactly subtle, Neo says to herself as she spots a side street that's clearly empty. An unpleasant voice, dripping with arrogance, cuts through her thoughts. The worst kind of person, a young, entitled man with an ego as big as the hotel behind him, approaches. You must be new here. I've never seen someone like you in this city. You've got gorgeous hair. What's your name, pretty thing? He asks, too direct and far too smug. Excuse me, which level of hell did you crawl out of, and what's this supposed to be? trying to hit on me. I'm not interested. Behave normally, or leave me alone, Neo snaps, the air around her warming slightly. Hey, no need to be aggressive. I was just being friendly and then you already used your power. That's a crime, you know. I could sue you, the stranger says in that totally arrogant tone. His designer clothes, gelled hair, and the gold rings and jewelry at his throat make it obvious he's the son of a wealthy family. Neo gives no more reaction than a hard look with her fiery, blood-red eyes. The spoiled brat swells with pride and blurts out his name as if his family's name actually carried weight in real life. My name is Julian Voss. You must have heard of the Voss name. I'm the current, he begins, pompous chest puffed out, and is cut off mid-boast. No, I've never heard of the Voss family. Must be pretty local then, with hardly any international clout. So it can't be that important. Now move aside, I've got things to do, Neo lies smoothly. Not a single micro-expression betrays the smallest flicker of guilt as she wedges past the young scion of the Voss dynasty. Honestly, that whole act was just muscle. I thought he'd have a power and be part of a hero family, but he's the kind of black sheep that makes those families look worse. Lucky for me I stumbled across someone connected to one of the hero families I've been watching, Neo thinks, quickly identifying the lascivious look the Voss heir gives her. It's the kind of look that only someone who's never been denied anything can have, convinced the world is his for the taking. Just you wait. You'll pay for this insult. You stained my suit, that'll cost you, Julian says, oblivious to who he's actually confronting. You can go fuck yourself, Julian Voss. Your status and wealth mean nothing in the face of absolute force, so be careful who you provoke. Eventually you'll bite off more than you can chew. Even if you get what you want now, that will be your end someday, Neo replies, a line of hard-earned wisdom spilling out on instinct. Whether Julian absorbs that wisdom or changes doesn't matter to Neo. She slips into a dark alley and disappears without a trace. Even after Julian instinctively reaches after her, there is no sign in the narrow lane of the red-haired, crimson-eyed woman. Now, let's see what I need, Neo thinks as she climbs to the rooftop. From a distance it looked like an empty, dusty room, another floor that isn't connected to the building's main stairwell. It's strange that someone would build an upper level like this, but the door and windows are clearly unfinished and entirely vacant. It's a perfect place for a brief change of identity. Neo thinks and begins to shift. First the blood-red hair shortens and darkens into unkempt black, then skin and muscle alter, the complexion pales and the feminine curves recede and vanish in less than a blink. The transformation isn't lightning fast, but it's quick enough, there's no urgency. Standing now in a completely different form, Neo can barely suppress a cough, something in the man's chest protests. Why did this person have a lung tumor and live like such trash? I hate this body, she mutters, slightly annoyed at how unfit and unhealthy this shape is. But the power this man had is just too delicious and useful not to use. I have it now, and as long as I don't stay in this form long, it won't be a problem. So far I haven't transferred any illnesses between forms. That's a little unfair. Also, I don't seem to age across forms. If I think about it, I should technically be 30, but I haven't shown signs of aging in a long while. Maybe my ability separates the aging process for each persona. Unfair. If I ever get old, I can test immortality by mimicking an infant. No one's figured me out yet. Anyway, back to business. I need cash and some weapons. Lol, I seriously still have 20 liters of cola in that pocket dimension. Where did I even get a rocket launcher and 10 rockets? Not that I need them now. I already have more firepower from the Pyro Woman. I should give my forms nicknames, Neo thinks as she reaches into the pocket dimension and pulls out food, a weapon, a few throwing knives, and some body armor, all custom made for a completely different persona. After a few seconds more of searching through the pocket dimension, everything she needs is ready. Okay, I've got everything, time to change and book a nice, comfortable luxury suite, Neo says aloud, and with that she prepares to move into the city under her newest guise. Okay, I've got everything I need. One last choice, do I go into the city with this face or another one, and do a little scouting? Neo thinks as her features shift back into her favorite look, the red-haired, crimson-eyed woman she enjoys most. It's like choosing a character in a game. This is the one that's the most fun to play. I kind of like this look. It's hot, seductive, and I could probably turn a few heads with this body. Beyond that, the way the red hair contrasts with the slightly pale skin is really beautiful. But that rich douche has already marked me as someone he wants, and I wouldn't be surprised if Julian Voss sent his lackeys to watch for me. I don't feel like dealing with them right now. The Voss family is definitely out of my league. I can't eliminate, take over, or rob them, at least not yet. Sure, they're corrupt heroes and have made many enemies, but I'm nowhere near powerful enough to take them on. Even though it'd be the perfect opportunity to get rich and gain influence. If I just stormed in and burned everyone in my way, I'd have heroes on me in seconds who could kill me. This is a hero family, something I've never confronted before. I have faced a semi-functional gang before because I was brazen and they assumed I had no powers, but right now I'm pretty limited, Neo thinks, absently rearranging the muscle structure of her cheeks to test the limits of her mimicry. It's oddly amusing that her ability refuses to create grotesque proportions or blatantly unnatural features, as if mimicry has a taste and decides what counts as normal. Hey, come to think of it, when did people start having all these colorful hair and eye colors? I must have been terrible at history class as a kid. I have no idea if humans always had these rainbow hues or if it's a recent thing. Who cares? She muses, examining herself in the full-length mirror she pulled from her pocket dimension. Owning a pocket dimension is absurdly useful. The limitation, no living things allowed inside, is almost negligible. It may not help in fighting through portals, but it makes transporting supplies and gear trivial. And it makes smuggling weapons, drugs, and explosives way easier. Although I don't know what to do with the drugs in there. I don't take drugs. Will I ever sell or use them? Maybe they'll be fuel for something, or I'll sell them. No, drug dealing isn't my thing, Neo thinks, surprised at her own reluctance. She had simply gotten those substances by accident. Everything of value eventually ended up in the pocket dimension. Wallets, donated, by thieves, knives, guns, anything useful. And does the pocket dimension have a hard limit? How does mimicry actually work? If I switch forms, I lose the previous power because I switched. But if I equip the pocket dimension ability again, like changing skins in a video game, I get it back with everything that was inside. I don't seem to lose anything across forms. Maybe I take snapshots, a persona tied to each copied power with its appearance. Why am I comparing everything to games? Maybe because I was that basement guy earlier, found him dead in a basement, actually. Practical note, skin contact works, and the original doesn't need to be alive. That's incredibly handy, Neo thinks as she darkens her skin tone and changes her eye color to a simple brown with a single thought. This is literally like character creation. It's fun, free body mods, within the bounds of my power. Unfortunately I can't do something oversized, it'd be crazy to mimic a monster. Wait, what happens if I copy someone who has multiple powers? Does my mimicry copy just one power along with the body? Or does mimicry create a new ability that pauses while I wear the other persona? I don't know. I can't measure how many powers someone truly has. If mimicry ever grows stronger, maybe I could use multiple powers at once. That would be a nightmare for most people, being able to switch between hundreds of abilities in a fight. Not sure if that'll ever happen, but it's not impossible, she reasons, satisfied with her appearance before snapping back into the sickly middle-aged man who can store things in a pocket dimension. The mirror blurs and sharpens, then the illusion ceases as the items are tucked away again. It's an odd little spectacle, things forming and vanishing as they move between realities, but useful. Right, I need civilian clothes, can't keep wearing the same outfit, the middle-aged man mutters, and with a finger snap garments manifest around the small frame. The transformation then swells, grotesquely if someone watched closely, like wax bubbling and reshaping, until the body settles into a clearly larger, younger woman. If anyone had seen it, it would have been disturbing. But now Neo stands inside the half-finished rooftop room, once more breaking the usual rules of mass and energy as she completes the change. As she prepares to leave in the new form, a flat-chested young woman, nothing in her cold eyes changes. What do I do if someone causes trouble? As long as I'm not actually in danger, I shouldn't reveal mimicry. If they try to incapacitate me or force me into something immoral, especially villains or someone dragging me to a nightclub, I'll play along until there's a chance to get out. They'll regret it later. The last people who messed with me gave me a donation, whether they meant or not, Neo thinks as she steps out through the unlocked rooftop door. The sky has gone partly cloudy and the sea still glitters in the low sun. Oh right, I still need to book a hotel room. Hope it's not full. Which face should I use? Friendly, grumpy, or seductive? She murmurs, testing different masks in her head. From up on the roof, the city looks like a stage. The rich and beautiful, the powerful who define justice, the crimes they get away with, corruption and the suffering of the weak. A friendly, naive girl face will suit this theater we call civilization. She murmurs more to herself than anyone else and heads toward the single metal door that connects the roof to the rest of the building. The door is locked, but the lock doesn't stay that way for long. 2.5 seconds later, Neo strides down the stairwell as if she owns the place. The door now lacks a lock or handle. Security here is pretty pathetic, she thinks as she encounters no one. An odd thought crosses her mind about how high the building is and how long it would take to reach the ground. Maybe I can use the time to practice acrobatics, she decides, stretching and then, without hesitation, leaping over the railing. There's not a hint of fear in her expression as she skims past railings, spinning in a quick pirouette, and drops to the spiral stairwell a floor below, landing in a split. Falling is faster than running, she grunts, annoyed at having to break any doors only when absolutely necessary. After repeating the stunt a few times, her knees start protesting. She decides to run the rest. That was already more than halfway down. I'll walk the rest or jump each step, but that hurts a bit, she thinks, her athletic body clearly near human limits. Is there even a limit for humans anymore? With all the powers around, who knows what the ceiling is, she wonders as she reaches the ground. For a moment she considers melting the lock again, but reasonable thought wins. Surprisingly, the door is unlocked. Neo strides out the main entrance as if the building belongs to her. None of the staff glance twice. Boldness works every time, especially if you're a shapeshifter. Walking in and out like this is wild. At least I didn't have to fly in as the red-haired firebender, she thinks, slinging her backpack over her shoulder and heading toward the Sunfire Hotel. The lobby is even more luxurious than she expected, a place where wealth and arrogance go hand in hand. The receptionist balks at letting an unremarkable-looking person in. How much will it cost to stay here a week? Tell me the price, Neo asks, annoyed, in the guise of an unassuming teenager. It's 1,000 marks per night, and I don't think you can afford that, miss. Why don't you go back to your parents? The receptionist replies, but the snap of paper on the desk reveals a thick bundle of cash and suddenly the nails are no longer the center of attention. I don't get people's obsession with money. Sure, I'm one of them now, but why do the rich have to be so arrogant? Okay, plan. Find a wealthy jerk with dirt on him I can kill and replace. Preferably someone pretty. That'd make life easier. But what do I do with the body? I need to know enough about his circle. Muscle memory and instinct won't teach me every password or every social cue. He should be reclusive with few friends, dirty secrets, and crimes so killing him won't feel as bad. Then I can use Scarlet Fire's ability to turn the corpse to ash, dump it, and suddenly I have more influence, she considers, calculating. Also, I need someone with few friends, or social events will be a nightmare. Ideally a rich loner, and not someone with so many connections that I can't fake my way through. Okay, that's enough. Do you have a free room? The receptionist asks with practiced cordiality. I want a very nice, luxurious suite. Pick one for me. I'll stay a week with a pool, a shower, a good bed, and a balcony. Don't overcharge me, I'll pay no more than half of this stack, Neo says, returning half the money. The transaction is quick and she's shown to her room. First to do, see if anyone's spying on me, then I can sleep, she thinks as she instinctively searches the entire suite, including the bathroom, for hidden cameras or microphones. Seriously, they put a camera in the shower. Who the hell did this? Not the hotel, they'd use better kit, she mutters as an old, unused camera triggers a long dormant part of her curiosity. It takes another 15 minutes to dismantle the tiny device, pull the memory module, and read its data. The footage is underwhelming. 3 slightly drunk men. The timestamp is a year old, the battery's dead and it can't transmit. Well, that was unexpected and a bit weird, Neo thinks coolly as she rests for the evening, eats, and lets the night pass. Morning rises slow and pale. Even her morning routine is more ritual than necessity, muscle memory and body forms are free for her to change. Training seems pointless when she can copy an elite athlete in seconds. This will freak people out. Someone who can change appearance at will, mimic champions' abilities, and reach the human pinnacle in seconds. I could become the world's strongest man without physical effort, she muses. Does that make me evil? Not really. Selfish, maybe. Overzealous self-defense. Evil is hard to define. After a quick bathroom break and with a slightly sweaty grin, she looks forward to meeting Titan, a superhero she wants to copy. This will be so cool if I get his power, Neo thinks, practically drooling at the idea of adding another ability to her small arsenal. The thought of being someone who holds hundreds of powers and can switch between them in combat is intoxicating.
And that's it. This was part 1 of the story, The Shape of Justice. I hope you really liked it, and if you liked it, and if you want to see more of the story, The Shape of Justice, and listen to more chapters of the story, then you can click on the right side of the screen. There's the entire playlist, and on the left side of the screen you can also see now the newest video I uploaded. I hope we see us in the next part. Again, until next time, take care and goodbye.